The 2024 Copa America will be special because this time we will actually have all of the Americas playing, as it should be. To be hosted in the United States, the 2024 Copa America will have all 10 CONMEBOL nations along with 6 CONCACAF countries for a total of 16 teams, 4 groups of 4, followed by the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then final. Similar to the 2016 Copa America, but far more competitive. So today, we are going to preview the whole thing. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to the ultimate 2024 Copa America Preview. You will not find a better one out there. No, seriously, trust me, ask anybody. You will not. For this video, I will be giving you the key dates, where to watch this tournament, and then we're gonna preview every single group. And I promise that I will try to behave during the video, but I usually don't really keep that promise. Now keep in mind that this is not a predictions video. We're gonna be doing that closer to the Copa America once all the official rosters are out. And I'll make sure to get all the predictions right. I mean, I always do get them right, so I don't know why that would change. Now listen, I don't like to beg, but as a YouTube host, I am obligated to beg for likes. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. It's on the YouTube bro code. If your YouTube bro begs for likes, you like the video. And I'm your YouTube bro, so I'm pretty sure you're hitting the like button right now. Last week, we also released a video for the top 5 wonder kids in the Copa America that you must follow, scout, or watch. So make sure to check that out. It's the video prior to this one. Don't miss out on it. And hopefully by the end of this video, you know more about every single country in the 2024 Copa America. That way, when you talk about soccer with your friends, you can sound very smart. Okay? Let's begin. The 2024 Copa America is set to start June 20th and end July 14th, with the final being played in Miami, Florida. The group stage will be played between June 20th and July 2nd. The quarterfinals will be July 4th all the way to July 6th, while the semifinals will be played July 9th and July 10th. The final is set to be played July 14th, and there's also a third place match to be played July 13th in case you care. And I believe that match will be played in Charlotte. One interesting fact about the edition, or this specific edition of the Copa America, is the total prize money to be paid out to the teams. But why should you care about that? Why should I care about that? None of that money goes into our pockets, which is true. It doesn't matter how much money they hand out, we don't get any of it. But it's just how much it increased from the 2016 Copa America in the US to this one. I think it's worth mentioning, because this leads me to believe that we might have more Copa Americas coming to the United States. The total prize to be handed out for this edition is $72 million. For context, the 2016 Copa America that was also hosted in the United States with 16 nations, the total prize was just $21.5 million. That is more than a 3x increase, which means teams will likely be more motivated, even though international competitions should not need the money factor to motivate players. In the United States of America, you can watch the Copa America on Fox and Fox Sports in English. If you want to watch it in Spanish and not have to deal with the terrible commentary that Fox provides, then you can watch all games on Univision or TUDN. Okay, now let's go to the groups and the bracket. We're gonna go in alphabetical order. So we're gonna start with Group A and work our way up all the way to Group D. Group A has Argentina, Canada, Chile, and Peru. So why don't we start with Argentina. Argentina are the current champions of the Copa America, but they're not only the current Copa America champs, they're also the World Cup winners, and they have Messi. They're among the favorites to win it all, and they are most certainly the best team in this group. This is likely Messi's last Copa America and possibly his last international tournament for Argentina, maybe. However, it is most certainly the last one for Angel Di Maria, as he is set to retire from international soccer after the Copa America. Argentina has a pretty stacked roster led by their coach Lionel Scaloni. Enzo Fernandez might not be fully fit due to surgery, but he will be there. Then you have players like Emi Martinez from Aston Villa on goal, Lautaro Martinez, the best forward in the Serie A, the Italian Serie A, Sociedad, the first division, playing up top. Julian Alvarez from Manchester City is another option. McAllister from Liverpool. They have a great mix of veterans and players in their prime. On top of that, this team knows how to win trophies. But can they pull it off and win a second consecutive Copa America? I hope not. I hope Argentina loses. I very much enjoy watching Argentina lose. And at the moment, Argentina has 15 Copa Americas won, Uruguay has 15, and Brazil has 9. So if Uruguay or Argentina win this Copa America, they will become the clear number one, the one nation that has the most Copa America titles, while Brazil tries to catch up to them. Chile is another team in Group A, and they actually won the last edition of the Copa America that was played in the United States of America back in 2016. During that time, their golden generation was as golden as it gets, winning 2 Copa Americas in a row, but that golden generation is long gone, and the one following it has nothing golden about it. Their only hope for success this edition of the Copa America is their current coach, Ricardo Gareca, which had a good amount of success in the past few editions of the Copa America while being in charge of Peru, with a final appearance in 2019 and a 3rd place in 2015. I'm not gonna lie, Gareca is really good, but there's only so much you can do with this Chilean side, because they pretty much have a mix of mediocre players at best and some washed veterans like Alexis Sanchez and Isla. I'm sorry, I know it sounds rude, but fair is fair. This Chilean side is not good, and to have any success in this Copa America would mean that Ricardo Gareca is pulling a miracle here. And let's be honest, he did do that with Peru for quite some time, so it is possible, but I just wouldn't bet on Chile doing well. So good luck to Ricardo Gareca. Also in Group A, we have Peru, the former national team of Ricardo Gareca, the one that he was in charge for a few years. And here's the thing with Peru. We got used to their whole being better than the sum of its parts over the past few years, thanks to Ricardo Gareca. But he's no longer in charge. And they're currently sitting in last place in the World Cup qualifying for CONMEBOL with 2 draws and 4 losses in the first 6 matches. They did just sign Jorge Fossati in December, so they have a new coach. There is hope, and he has been in charge for 2 games this year in 2024, and they won both of them, defeating Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic for whatever that's worth. Now listen, Peru has, they do lack talent. It is an issue. I mean, they're still playing 40-year-old Paulo Guerrero. And my point here is they will probably be tough to beat, but this is far from the Peruvian side that we saw back in 2019. I don't think the coaching staff is as good, nor are the players. Peru just doesn't really look good on paper, and then when you actually watch them play, it still feels like they're on paper. Last but not least, in Group A, we have Canada, the Rude Canadians. The Canadians will play in the Copa America for the first time ever. And after a rough 2023 with a few bad results, bad coach situation, and a federation that was on the verge of declaring bankruptcy, the Canadian men's national team is back. Oh boy, they are so back. Maybe, sorta, kinda. I'm not 100% certain, but it does seem like they're starting to get their act together. They just hired stubborn American coach Jesse Marsh, and as stubborn as he is, I think this might just work. His U12 relentless pressing, direct, narrow tactics might actually work with this group of players. A lot of the Canadian players suit the style of play that Jesse Marsh likes to implement. Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Buchanan, Kyle Larin, Ismael Kone all suit his playing style, and these are their best players. Maybe Eustáquio doesn't, but all others do. After the high of qualifying to the 2022 World Cup and the low being among one of the worst teams in that tournament, can Canada bounce back in the Copa America, now led by Jesse Marsh? Can they shock the Americas, or will they just crash in the group stage? Okay, I'm tired of Group A. Let's go to Group B. Group B has Mexico, Jamaica, Venezuela, and Ecuador. And I want to start by saying this. Group B is by far the most balanced group in the Copa America. Also, the only group with a legit title contender, in my opinion. This group just has one big problem, and it's honestly really big. All 4 of these teams just don't like scoring. They're as allergic to scoring as I am to lactose. I avoid it. I don't like having it because it'll make me poop a lot and then get tired. So these teams just don't score a lot of goals, which means you should probably be expecting a lot of soccer terrorism in this group and low-scoring games. Mexico arrives in this Copa America with what is seen as their worst generation of all time. You have a great player like Edson Alvarez from West Ham, surrounded by plenty of mediocre Liga MX players. Memo Ochoa, their legendary goalkeeper, was not even called in. He's done. Chucky Lozano from PSV was left out of the roster. Now, Santi Jimenez is a promising forward that has been great for Feyenoord in the Eredivisie, but he just doesn't seem to perform well for the national team. He's like Romario when he's playing for his club, and then all of a sudden when he comes to play for Mexico, he becomes someone like Andy Carroll when he puts on that Mexican jersey. Don't expect this to be the 2001 Mexico that made it to the Copa America final. There are higher odds of them crashing early in the group stage and Jamie Lozano getting fired rather than making a deep run. But I will say one thing. This Mexican side will be playing pretty much at home because El Tri fans really show up to games in the United States of America. I would even argue they show up, well, not even argue, it's a fact. They show up more to games than US fans. So Mexico will be playing at home in the United States, and that can be to their advantage. Even though they do pretty much host the games when it's played in the US, they have more fans than the US when they face the US men's national team, and they still continue to get spanked by the United States every single year. Then we also have Venezuela in Group B, usually one of the punching bags of CONMEBOL alongside Bolivia, but they have been surprisingly good under head coach Fernando Batista. They are currently 4th in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, and they even managed to pull a 1-1 draw away with an in-crisis Brazil, but that's still quite impressive, especially for Venezuela. I'm not saying Venezuela is great, but they're most certainly much better than their normal selves, so don't underestimate them. Then we got the Jamaicans, or maybe we should not call them Jamaicans, we should just call them Pokemon, because we do know they are going to self-destruct at any given moment. That's what the Jamaican national team has done for the past few years. Jamaica is currently led by Heimir Hallgrimsson, an Icelandic dentist and soccer coach, and you know what? This team has talent. We just don't know if they're all going to get called in at this time, or if they're even going to want to play for the national team. Ethan Pinnock is a great center back in the English Premier League. Mikel Antonio is a great forward for West Ham. Bobby Reed is a good midfielder for Fulham. Andre Blake is one of the best goalkeepers in Major League Soccer. However, a few months back, their best player, Leon Bailey, that had a fantastic season for Aston Villa, retired from the national team and exposed the alleged multiple issues that they have, which I won't dive into in this video. Voltor, as I said, they will self-implode. They always self-destruct. And for that reason, I will only refer to them as Voltorb from here forward in this video and probably during the entire 2024 Copa America. Last but not least, we have the strongest team in this group, in my opinion, which is Ecuador. Led by Felix Sanchez, who was the coach of the Qatari national team in the 2022 World Cup. This team is one of those that is not really a title contender, but they can knock out title contenders. They count with superb players like Moises Caicedo from Chelsea in the midfield, center back Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen, along with a great supporting cast. Unfortunately for Ecuador, Pervis Estupinan, the left back from Brighton, will not be available due to a muscle injury, and he is one of their best players, and they will most certainly feel his absence. I'm not sure if Felix Sanchez will go to back 3 with wingbacks or 4 with fullbacks, but with Estupinan not being available, I think there's a possibility that he plays Piero Hincapié, the center back, as a left back. We'll see. Hincapié can play both. I don't know how Felix Sanchez is going to deal with the absence of one of their key players, but it definitely doesn't help Ecuador. Now, there's also big expectations on their 17-year-old wonder kid, Kendry Páez, that has already signed with Chelsea. He is their most talented forward right now, and despite being just 17, he could have an immediate impact. He's a major talent that we talked about quite a bit in the last video where we talked about the Copa America Wonder Kids. That video was released before this one, so go check it out if you want to hear more about Kendry Páez. That's it for Group B, and if you know the alphabet, after B comes the letter C. So time to talk about Group C, where the United States of America will be playing. For Group C, we have the United States of America, the host nation, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Panama. Now, if you made it this far in the video, please drop a like if you haven't already. It really helps the channel, and I truly appreciate it. So Group C. Let's start with the host nation, the United States of America. The U.S. men's national team arrives in the Copa America with high expectations and somewhat low expectations at the same time. This team has quality players like Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Anthony Robinson, Gio Reyna, Tyler Adams, Johnny Cardoso, and many others. This is literally the most talent the U.S. men's national team has ever had. But in charge of this team, we have a coach that achieves nothing more and nothing less than the bare minimum, in the most boring and pragmatic way possible. A very questionable rehire from U.S. Soccer post-2022 World Cup, and that man is Greg Berhalter. He is one of the biggest soccer terrorists out there, and one day he will pay for his soccer crimes. Keep in mind, this United States team ran over Mexico in March for the Nations League final. But at the same time, they needed a last-minute own goal to take down Voltorb in extra time. Sorry, I meant Jamaica. Voltorb, Jamaica, same beast, different animal. The United States has been the clear best team in CONCACAF since 2021. But the team has yet to prove that they can get it done outside of CONCACAF. This Copa America is a massive opportunity for the U.S. men's national team, as they have a team with a perfect mix of youth, players in their prime, and experience. On top of that, they will be playing at home. I fully expect the United States to get out of their group, but if they advance, they have to play Brazil or Colombia in the quarterfinals. Could they upset Brazil or Colombia? Under Berhalter, probably not. The other team in this group, and honestly, the top team of this group, is Uruguay, that has been re-energized ever since Bielsa took over and implemented his soccer on crack methods. They have been thriving and were able to defeat Brazil and Argentina in World Cup qualifying, and they currently sit in second place. This is also a nation that has won 15 Copa Americas, even though their population is smaller than the state of Kentucky, or I don't know, even Oklahoma. Uruguay is a legendary soccer nation, and their accomplishments are actually quite remarkable. Uruguay has a great mix of young talent and veterans in their prime. Valverde from Real Madrid is simply world class, but this team also counts with the likes of Ugarte from PSG, Roland Araujo from Barcelona, Darwin Núñez from Liverpool, and big-time talents in South America like Arrascaeta and De La Cruz that play for Flamengo. Many are placing Uruguay as the favorites to win it all, and I think they're a tad bit overhyped at the moment due to that. To me, they're still behind Brazil and Argentina, even though they defeated Brazil and Argentina in World Cup qualifying, but they are contenders for sure under Bielsa. This team is actually scary. The other two teams in this group are Panama and Bolivia. And I'll be quick with Bolivia. They lack talent, and they will be missing their best player, which is the altitude in La Paz. Without the altitude in La Paz, I expect them to end the Copa America with 0 points. They're a bottom 2 nation in this competition, in my opinion, out of all 16 teams. The other team is Panama, a team that has a few good players here and there, like Carrasquilla from the Houston Dynamo, great midfielder, and Murillo from Olympique Marseille, but they're not the most talented team. They're okay, but they're very well coached by Thomas Christensen. And if there's any team that can cause trouble to Uruguay and the United States in this group, that is Panama. Even though the gap in talent is large enough that I would expect Uruguay and the United States to absolutely defeat Panama, I can see Panama in a good day, giving them a lot of trouble. My overall point, there are no excuses for Uruguay or the United States to not get out of this group. I think the only tough challenge will be Panama, but it still should be a comfortable win. We're done with Group C. Now let's go to Group D. Group D has Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, and Costa Rica. And this group has two clear favorites. One of them being, of course, Brazil, that after a turbulent 2023 with part-time coaches, poor performances, bad results, and a horrible Neymar knee injury, this team seems to be finding its new identity, one without Neymar. They have a new coach, Dorival Júnior, and he ain't perfect, but he had a fair amount of success in Brazilian clubs in the past few years, and he does have plenty of experience. He is also the coach that when Neymar was like 18 or 19, he told Dorival Júnior to go f*** himself in the middle of the game, and I believe Dorival got fired right after that. So I'm not so sure on this guy, but it's still better than what Brazil had in 2023. In 2023, Brazil had a bunch of part-time coaches, so that didn't work out. With Dorival Júnior, they should be all right. Dorival Júnior did manage to beat England at Wembley while being in charge of Brazil, and also tie Spain in Madrid this past March, which leads me to believe that Brazil might have snapped out that poor form from 2023. They have the deepest roster in the Copa America, in my opinion. The biggest issue is the 9 position, as we will see if 17-year-old Endrick can actually step up. The fullback position is also very shaky, and the biggest challenge will be to get Vinicius Jr. going. He is simply world class for Real Madrid, and even possibly a Ballon d'Or winner in the future. But for Brazil, he almost always sucks. He's literally not good for Brazil. I'm not over exaggerating. If you consistently watch Brazil and you see Vinicius Jr. playing for the national team, he's horrible. But if Brazil wants to win this Copa America, Vinicius Jr. will have to look more like his Real Madrid version instead of the national team version of himself. Or hope for Endrick, Rodrigo, someone else to step up so that Brazil can win their 10th Copa America. The other clear favorites of this group is a red-hot Colombian national team, led by head coach Nestor Lorenzo and obviously superstar winger from Liverpool, Luis Diaz. And of course, John Arias deserves also a shout out. And believe it or not, James Rodriguez still looks like the 2014 World Cup version of himself while playing for Colombia. And he's expected to be there and he's expected to start. This is a team that brings a lot of intensity in their games, and they're just usually very fast paced. They're not very defensive and they like to attack. They currently sit in 3rd place in the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying. And even though they failed to qualify to the 2022 World Cup for multiple reasons, this Colombian side has not lost a game since March of 2022. That's 20 games without a loss. They have won their last 5 games, including a win against Spain and Brazil. My point here, this Colombian side is legit. And to me, they are title contenders for the 2024 Copa America. It kind of goes like this. Brazil and Argentina are the top 2. Uruguay is number 3. And to me, Colombia is the 4th team in this ranking of who are the favorites to win the Copa America. They're legit. Do not underestimate them, and they could win their 2nd Copa America this summer. The other 2 teams in this group are not really expected to get out of this group. One is Costa Rica's side that failed to replace its golden generation from the 2014 World Cup quarterfinals run. They do have the grit, and they are coached by Gustavo Alfaro, a great coach that coached Ecuador last cycle. But this team is done. And as far as I know, based on his announcement, legendary goalkeeper Keylor Navas will not play. He has retired from the national team. Then you have Paraguay, a team that has some good players like Miguel Almiron, Julio Enciso, young talent from Brighton, and Gustavo Gomes from Palmeiras, but they just don't have the talent. This team has scored 1 goal in 6 CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying games. I expect them to battle Costa Rica to find out which of the 2 is the worst team in this group. Paraguay can't score, Costa Rica is simply not good enough, so my bet for that game would be a 0-0 draw. Now let's quickly talk about the knockout rounds. The knockout rounds are pretty straightforward. The top 2 teams of each group advance to the quarterfinals. On one side of the bracket, you have groups A and B. On the other side of the bracket, you have groups C and D. The knockout rounds are 1-leg knockout rounds, so just 1 game, and then you have the quarterfinals, semifinals, and final. Now I'm going to repeat this, and it's actually quite important. One side of the bracket, we will have groups A and B. On the other side of the bracket, we will have groups C and D. So yes, you can play the same team that was in your group in the semifinals rather than the final. And you may be wondering, why? Did they just get lazy while making the bracket? No. Let's think about this for a second. What is the most attractive final possible? Brazil versus Argentina. That's the most profitable final they could get. Can CONMEBOL rig the competition to make them meet in the final? No, they cannot do that. However, they can set up a bracket which, regardless of how each team does in the group stage, both will be in opposite ends of the bracket, which then you avoid an early matchup between those 2 giants and increase the odds of getting Brazil versus Argentina in the final. So did they do that on purpose? I don't know. This is just my theory. I have to say, I guess, allegedly. But regardless of how Brazil and Argentina do in the group stage, they will be in opposite sides of the bracket, which leads me to believe there's some motivation behind that, because if you want to make a lot of money, you have a Brazil-Argentina final. All right, everyone, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. We will do a prediction video closer to the Copa America. And why don't you let me know in the comment section who will win the 2024 Copa America? Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Ecuador, the United States? Drop a like before you go. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.